Good morrow, Wolfpack! My name is George, and it's time to put your think caps on because it is time for theorizing! And before we get into any theories, I do have to say, spoiler alert, have you seen the title of this video? Of course there are spoilers. We don't do theories on this channel, but there's something been on my mind lately and I just can't get it out, so now I want to share it all with you guys. With one of the biggest, arguably the biggest shows on television right now is The Walking Dead, and it just ended the season 6. Now, the season 6 finale is pretty controversial because the way it ends is that a character dies but we don't see who, because the camera is in their point of view, so we can only see them being killed. So we don't know who it is. So the internet, of course, has to theorize who died. Earlier in the season, Rick and the gang killed a bunch of the Negan gang thinking that they were the only part of Negan there was, until in the season 6 finale it is revealed that there is way more people in Negan. So Negan decides that Rick and the gang is going to start working for him and taking stuff from them, and also before any of that starts, he's going to kill one of them. So I have developed a theory and I think I know who gets it. Okay, so the way that Rick's group is lined up, let's see who's in what place. Right now there are 11 of them. So the way that they're lined up, from Negan's point of view, from left to right, it is Glenn, Rosita, Daryl, Michonne, Abraham, Maggie, Rick, Sasha, Aaron, Carl, and Eugene. And so like I mentioned before, Negan decides to do a little bit of eeny, meeny, miny, moe to decide who he wants to kill. So the way that it goes, Eeny is he points his bat to Rick, meeny to Maggie, miny to Abraham, moe to Michonne, which makes sense because that means he started in the middle of the line where Rick was and then started going towards the left side. So instead of saying catch to Daryl, he actually does it to Glenn, who's all the way on the left side. So he says catch, and then the is towards Rosita, and then tiger is to Daryl. Now comes next, Negan starts to switch it up a bit, because if he were to say one word per person, then he would end up killing like Sasha or Maggie or someone like right next to Rick. He has to switch it up a bit. So when he says by his toe, he kind of skips through Michonne, Abraham, Maggie, and Rick. And then when he says if he hollers by Sasha, then he passes Aaron, then he goes to Carl and says let him go. And then he spends a little time around Carl because he says my mother, and then he's still at Carl. And then he's still at Carl and he says, told me. So he's obviously saying a lot of it, right as he approaches Carl, but then right next to Carl is Eugene. He says to pick, and then this is where it gets all jumbly in the scene because now we see him approach like everyone at once. So it gets kind of wishy-washy, which is everyone's problem. That's why we can't figure it out, because we just see him like everyone's scared, and then we just see the bat in front of everyone's faces. So it gets hard as he says the very best one, and you are, and then the last take of the season as he says it, and then points the bat at someone. This is when the camera is in their point of view, so we can't see who it is. And now to reveal who I think got killed, and it is Eugene. That's right. I think Negan killed Eugene, and here's why. First, this first clue doesn't have much to do with Eugene, but I feel that after getting to see how Negan is and the way he acts in this last scene of the season, I feel like he would kill one of the guys. And it's not to be a sexist thing, I just feel like just to preserve dominance over Rick's group, which would be the best way to do that would be to kill Rick, but I mean, come on, the show's not going to kill Rick. In this episode anyway, I don't know, maybe later on he dies, but who knows, who knows. So if we were to go with the guy theory, then obviously 4 characters would be out, which would be Michonne, Sasha, Rosita, and Maggie. And if you were to kill a girl, I mean, most likely one would have been Maggie, because there was a little thing going on before the final moments of the season where Glenn tried to get to Maggie, but then he's not supposed to move, that's gonna piss Negan off even more. So if we were to say it was one of the guys, then we obviously have a lot of characters still left. It's 7 of them. And the next clue that it leads to Eugene would be that when Negan says it, and he's in front of the person who he's about to kill, you don't hear anyone say anything.
It Anybody moves, anybody says anything, cut the boy's other eye out and feed it to his father, and then we'll start.
Still, there was time enough for people to say gasp or like, no, or something like that. And it sounds pretty fucked up that no one would say that if Eugene was picked, but it does make the most sense because Eugene doesn't have any kind of relationship with anyone. He's not dating any of the girls. He's not like family with any of them. So, and to take example for if Maggie got picked to kill. If Maggie, then Glenn would have freaked the fuck out as soon as she was picked. And then he would be like, no, no, and then you would hear him say that. So, I don't think it was Maggie. And vice versa. If Glenn was picked, then Maggie would like just burst out screaming and crying if Glenn was about to die, so. And then I also feel the same about Michonne, because then Rick and Carl would freak out, and if Rick got picked, then Michonne and Carl would freak out, and then Carl, Rick would freak out, that sort of thing. And if Sasha was picked, Abraham would have freaked out or something like that, and vice versa. And if Daryl was picked, even though he doesn't really have any, even though he's not have relations with anyone, he's been in the group the longest with Glenn and Rick. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure Rick and like Glenn and Maggie would have like freaked out if Daryl was about to be, because I mean they even say in the show Rick and Daryl are like brothers at this point. So that only leaves really 3 characters to have no relations with anyone, and that would be Rosita, Aaron, and Eugene. And I feel like it wouldn't be enough if it was Rosita or Aaron, because, well, Aaron is like the newest one part of the group, so it's not that important to the characters if he died. Like, it's fucked up, but we've spent the least amount of time with Aaron, in front of all the 11 characters, we've spent the least time with him. So I feel like it would be Eugene, because, I mean, it would make sense that everyone stayed silent as Negan was talking right before he kills Eugene. So, and also let's get a little bit technical with the lighting in the background and stuff like that as Negan is choosing somebody, which will help me prove my next clue why Eugene was killed. So as we know, there's an RV in the background, which is where Negan entered from, and when we go to the last take of the episode, we don't really see anything in the background, but that's because the camera is pointed up towards Negan, so that you can only really see the sky in the background and not what's going on the ground. If Negan were to pick someone that was in the middle of the line of the characters, then I feel like we would be able to see the RV, but we don't. So it makes me feel that it would be someone on the opposite ends of the lines. And who's in the opposite ends? Eugene and Glenn. So the next clue we see, there's a fire going on in the background because it's nighttime, so there's no natural light happening. So, and then on Negan's face, you could see the fire when he's on the right side of the line, which is where Eugene, Carl, Aaron, and Sasha are. And on the left side of the line, the lighting is mixed up, as you can see in this scene right here when he's like pointing his bat at Glenn. You can see that the lighting is all not, it's like dark like all over his face. And then in the last take, you see that the fire is pretty clearly on the left side of Negan's face. And that's because the fire is over on the right side, where it's not where all the characters are. So it makes sense that the lighting is like that if Eugene was the one that was killed. And also, the take right before Negan chooses who he kills, we see Rick's face, and then we see a shadow moving on Rick's face, and that shadow is most likely Negan's because he's the only one walking around. And so you see the shadow go this way. And what's this way? Sasha, Aaron, Carl, and Eugene. So you see, even if you pay attention to the little details like the lighting on their faces and the background, it still supports that Eugene was the one who died. Now, I haven't watched anyone else's theory videos on this particular topic, but I've seen like some people's videos says that Glenn was killed by Negan. And so, I mean, sure, I can see why you would say that, because, I mean, he died back in episode 3 of season 6, and also he bursted out like trying to get to Maggie when he's not supposed to move or anything when Negan's there. So I could see why Negan would kill Glenn in that instance to, preserve dominance again as the leader of the group. But I feel that I mean, they already cheapened Glenn's death, as I said before in the previous in this season. So I feel like if he were to die, then we wouldn't really care. So and that sucks. So they're probably gonna wait off on Glenn, like maybe season 7, season 8. Who knows? But I'm still firm on Eugene. I haven't watched anyone else's theory videos, so I don't know what everyone else is thinking. But I've seen Glenn's name pop up a lot. But even if we weren't to look at this last scene, you could still say it's Eugene, because earlier in the episode, you see Eugene fulfill his purpose. He sacrifices himself to distract the Negan gang as Rick and the group try to sneak off into Hilltop. And it looked like he was about to die, like just full on sacrifice himself. And he also gave Rick the plans of how to build ammunition for weapons. And Eugene also tells Rick Abraham knows where to go for that, so you can just ask him about it. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious, like, that's all Eugene can do from now on, because he's not much of a fighter. I mean, he has gone a little bit good, but a little. Emphasis on that. But if we were to look at earlier episodes in the show overall, when a character dies at the end of the episode, it's pretty obvious, because in that episode that they focus a lot on that character and even do flashbacks of the character from something from their past, so that you can see everything to know about that character, and so then they can just die. And that was sort of like this episode was for Eugene, because Glenn wasn't in it at all until the last scene. If they were going to kill Glenn off, I feel like they would focus on Glenn and give him more purpose so that his death is more satisfying to the audience. But they really did that more for Eugene. So the overall consensus for me anyway is that Eugene dies. It makes the most sense to me. So yeah, that's it for this week's video. Thank you all for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribe to become part of the Wolf Pack today. Let me know down in the comments who you think died. And tell me if I'm wrong, because of course I may be wrong, because we don't know. We actually won't know until the fall who actually dies. But let me know if you agree with me or not. Whatever. Comment, let me know. And it's time for this lone wolf to roll out. Oh! This is another clue that would help me support my argument for Eugene being the one that's killed. A lot of people think it was Glenn because Glenn came at an outburst, but let's not forget Eugene is the one who rode the RV as a distraction for Negan's gang to think that Rick and the group are still in there. Eugene was the one who they found in that RV. So, that is plenty of reason for Negan to still want to kill Eugene for trying to be the one to trick him. So, ha.